It is Easter this weekend, and that means I'm going to be making a carrot cake, and I wanted to share this with you because this is the best carrot cake recipe that has ever been created. It came from my mother-in-law. She is the bomb when it comes to carrot cakes, and it will change your life. Believe me, if you want that Easter bunny coming, he will come a-running for this carrot cake. It has way more carrots than any recipe you've ever seen, and it's not overly full of spices, and it's not dry. It is super moist, tons of carrots, super flavorful and delicious. So we're gonna make that today and we're gonna have some fun. All right, first things first, the recipe is in the description, so check that out. But I've got all the ingredients right here, and make sure, first thing, set out your butter and your cream cheese so they get nice and soft while they're waiting. All right, we're gonna mix in our 3 eggs. Boom. Get those all whipped up. Then we're gonna mix in our 1 cup sugar. And we've got our 1 1/3 cup flour. We're gonna mix in our salt, our baking soda, baking powder, and cinnamon. We're gonna stir all that together. We have 1 cup oil. Mix that in. 1/2 teaspoon vanilla. I like using imitation vanilla because it's my jam. Now let's grate up some carrots. So we're gonna need 4 cups of grated carrots. I used to do this the old-fashioned way and just scrape them by hand, but I upgraded. I remembered I have a food processor, so I've been using that. I cut all the tops off my carrots and give them to my goats because they love it. So we're gonna grate all these up, and usually I film these videos while my 2-year-old is napping right in the next room, but luckily she's not napping right now, she's playing outside, so I can turn this thing on. All right, we're gonna see how much we got. And any extras I'm gonna give to my goats. I like to add the carrots before the flour, so we're gonna add the carrots into the oil mixture. The carrots are in, let's add the flour mixture and it'll be ready to go. You're probably looking in there and going, whoa, that's all carrot. You're right, it is. And remember to only stir as much as it's necessary to get everything mixed in. You don't want to overstir and make it tough. Super important tip. This calls for all-purpose flour. Do not use cake flour. My sister asked if cake flour would work in this recipe. I said, I don't know, you should give it a try. And she did. And it was a total disaster. So don't use cake flour. I want to split this batch of batter into 3. I want to have this be 3 layers high. So I'm going to try to save some. I only have 2 of these, so I'm going to have to save some and put the last bit in after the first 2 have cooked. I've got my parchment paper. I got these really nifty little insulators. My husband got them for me for Christmas. They look a little charred. I just get them wet and I wrap them around, and it helps insulate the pans for a more evenly baked cake. Now this is obviously very optional, and you're more than welcome to put this cake in a 9x13 casserole dish, which is usually what we do, but this time I want to make mine a little extra pretty. I've got my oven at 350 degrees, so we're going to stick these in. All right, this is important. On this recipe, you cannot pull the cake out after you've tested it with a toothpick. You know how you stick the toothpick in and to see if it's clean, to see if the cake is done or not? It does not work on this recipe. I think it's all the carrots that are in it, but it needs to cook for longer, so make sure it stays in the oven until it's really nice and brown on the top, not before. While the cake is baking in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and whip up our frosting. Again, the recipe for the frosting is in the description as well. We've got our half a stick of butter, always a staple in frosting. And we've got 8 ounces of cream cheese. Here is 1 cup powdered sugar. Now keep in mind, this is not a super sweet frosting. It is a cream cheese frosting. It's not super sweet, and that's why my family loves it so much. Alright, cakes are baked and out of the oven. I went ahead and sliced off the top. Some recipes dome up more than others. This recipe stays really flat, but it wasn't quite flat enough, so I went ahead and trimmed off the tops. First layer, set her down, scrape on some delicious frosting. And like I said, my family isn't a huge frosting family. Well, they aren't. I really like frosting, but especially a carrot cake, it's not a super sweet cake, so they like to minimize the frosting, so that's what I like to do. Now, if one of the layers of your cake is a little bit less impressive, or maybe it broke apart when you're trying to move it around, put it in the middle. That way the other layers help stabilize it. Now for the top layer, since the bottom of the cake is always going to be the flattest with a nice sharp edge, I always flip this one over and put it down like this, face down. Now for this cake, I'm going to do a naked cake. That's where you don't frost all around the whole thing, where you just put frosting in between and then sometimes on the top. I think naked cakes can look so beautiful, especially when they have a little garnish. I am going to garnish this one with some beautiful walnuts. You know, walnuts are a favorite on carrot cake. This cake is all done and it's beautiful. Please try this recipe at home. It is foolproof, it is easy, and it is the best carrot cake you will ever try or have ever eaten. It is so full of carrots, and I promise you it's crazy moist. It's amazing. So give it a try, and if it's Easter like it is here this weekend, that Easter bunny is gonna come a-running because there's so many carrots in it. And keep in mind, like any carrot cake, you can add your own additives, whatever's your favorite, like raisins or walnuts on the inside. I know my husband loves that. But for this one, I just put them around the top as a garnish. So if you like the video and the cake, give it a thumbs up and subscribe because we've got lots more fun things to do, and I'll see you in the next video.